tried drugs or paraphernalia, where the sun doesn't shine. Hi, my name's Matt Stevens, and this is my sober addiction. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm an addict. Hi, Matt. This is a podcast about sobriety. It's my labor of love. And I love addicts. Among the many things I love about sobriety, one is that it's an opportunity to reinvent yourself or to shift your identity. And I think that's kind of what I did, that's the best way I know of putting it. Whenever I got sober finally, I don't know, I kind of got a swagger. I guess whenever you face down your demons, you finally beat that thing that's been beating you forever. I guess you do get a little bit of an attitude, but but in a good way. Get some swagger, put your shoulders back, get your, bow your neck a little bit, be feeling pretty good about yourself. And that's it. It's an opportunity, though, for all of us to reinvent ourselves. Before I got sober, I was, weak and defeated and living in fear most of the time. And it's usually a fear of, am I going to be able to, get my drug? I don't want to be sick, and living in fear of withdrawal is, it's not a good way to live. And then that's when you will do just about anything to get it. I chose to, we probably shouldn't get into that. The things that we do, we don't have to do anymore, so we can be better people. Some of the smartest people I've ever known were addicts. I've had a lot of good friends who were great people, and they were brilliant. They happen to be addicts as well. And I do say that in the past tense because most of them are no longer with us. And that's sad because there's, like I said, a lot of really brilliant people, and they're no longer with us because of addiction. Kind of a funny story. I kind of got my swagger back whenever I got sober. And there was a time when one particular night, my daughter and I went into this restaurant, pub, whatever, in the neighborhood, and they have really good food. So, anyway, we had we're walking through, and I had on a Motorhead England t-shirt, which if you're a hard rock heavy metal fan, you'll know exactly the t-shirt I'm talking about. If not, just go with it. It's a classic. So, I had that on, and I don't know, I was just dressed the way I dressed. And, I don't think it was more my dress as much as it was just kind of the way I carried myself, because I was no longer living, like I said, in fear and weak and defeated. I was then, I had my swagger. So we were walking through to pick up some food to take, it was for takeout. We were walking to the back of the place, and I swear I heard somebody say, I don't know, maybe he's a rock star. And I was like, what? Who are they talking about? And I turned around and looked, and it's very evident they were talking about me. And that's a very funny story to me, because, besides the obvious, but it's also funny because, not too long before that, I was just a junkie, I looked like hell. I certainly wouldn't have been carrying myself in a very confident manner. And, well, yeah, that's pretty much it. It was kind of funny. But, but there's a lot more to the story than just that. Just the fact that alone that I was able to, not be eating at some cheap garbage food out of some gas station. I was actually able to take my kid and go get some good food and all that. That's in itself, is gonna give you some swagger. The fact that you've got money in your pocket and you don't have to save it for dope is pretty special, and and kind of like when we, used to talk about how you see normal people sitting in traffic, or just walking through the grocery store with a big cart full of groceries or whatever. And you think, my God, how can they get through the day without drugs? And that's just the mind of an addict. It's like, I had to have it to get through the day, and I could not imagine not having drugs to get through the day. And it used to boggle my mind when I would see people that I knew were, what we called normies or whatever, just normal people who don't use drugs. Most people don't. But when I would see them, and it would boggle my mind. I would be like, how do they do it? How do they not be high, or have some kind of crutch, or something to run to whenever the day gets hard, or whatever. Those are just some of the things that always kind of boggle my mind a little bit, and just I always kind of envied them. And now, I'm getting through each day. I'm living it now, and it's great. It's like, well, it's just a very nice feeling. So we can look at, getting sober as an opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to shift our identities, be the person that you want to be. You don't have to live in fear anymore. You don't have to live in that constant state of, always on the hunt, always trying, always just chasing, just constantly chasing. In fact, you're able to relax. You don't have to worry about making sure you've got something for in the morning, and that frees you up to just live your life. And it does give you, once you've been on the other side of it, it does give you a certain sense of confidence, or as I put it earlier, swagger. Obviously, stay humble. Don't get cocky. I mean, that's not the point of this. But since we're now free of temptation, or well, I shouldn't say free of temptation. Actually, I should probably edit that out. But now that we are free from addiction, and we are able to do the fun things in life. For example, the first time I got in trouble, it was a summer evening. It was in Cincinnati, Ohio, and there was a Billy Idol concert at the casino that's downtown Cincinnati. And I remember hearing about it, and I really wanted to go. I mean, it sounded great. Billy Idol concert. That would be pretty cool. But that particular night, I was, in some apartment complex with people. I went into the apartment building and saw my guy, and got the dope, and we came back out to the car and got in the car. And as soon as I got in the car, a cop car pulled up right behind us, kind of blocked us in the parking spot. So naturally, I handed the drugs very quickly to the female that was with us so that she could hide those, and only the way females can. And talk to the police. And we did not think that there was any paraphernalia in the car. But another person that was with us did have some in there. Told us that it wasn't. And then when the police saw, I told the police, sure, go ahead and search the car. So when they searched the car and they found the paraphernalia, and the person said, that's not mine. Well, because it was my car, it became mine. And actually the police were even, I don't want to say they were cool about it, but they were like, well, we kind of believe you that it's not yours, but if nobody else is going to own up to it, it's in your car, it belongs to you. So I went to jail. And also in Cincinnati, most people don't know, the jail is downtown, right across the street from that casino where the Billy Idol concert was going on. And since it was summertime, they had the windows rolled down in the police car. And as we're pulling into the intake, I hear the Billy Idol concert. And I'm like, man, and it really just kind of hits me. If I'd only been there instead of where I was, then I wouldn't be going into the jail right now. And of course, it was an awful night. I was dope sick, and it's freezing cold in there and all that kind of stuff. But that's a whole other story. It's just, when you realize, gosh, if I didn't have to have all my money to go towards drugs, or all my time taken up chasing drugs, I could have been at that Billy Idol concert and having a good time. I believe when they pulled us into intake, it was, I want to say White Wedding was playing. And it sounded really good, and I'm sure they were having a great time over there, but that was not for me because I had made other choices. But now, I don't do that anymore. Now, I go to the concert. In fact, I go to a lot of concerts, and I have a great time. And if we want to go eat before or after, that's fine too. We do what the beautiful thing is, we do what we want. We've gotten to the point where, when I say we, I mean us addicts who are sober. We've gotten to the point where we've got jobs, we're taking care of business, and it just feels good, doesn't it? Because maybe concerts are not your thing, but most people. I don't know. Whatever you want to do, you don't have hours taken up. That's another statistic that I'd heard, is how many hours drug addicts spend just sitting in a car in a parking lot waiting for a drug dealer to show up. Tell me if you've heard this one. Like, for example, you've been sitting there for, I don't know, hour and a half, whatever, and tell me that's not shady. You're sitting, just people sitting in a car, and you're not the only one that this guy has that he meets at this particular location. But whatever. And you call the guy, you're like, hey man, I've been here for like an hour and a half now. What's going on? Oh yeah, I'm on my way. I had to stop by somewhere and pick up some stuff for you, whatever. I'm like, okay. So then maybe another half an hour, 45 minutes or whatever goes by. You don't really want to bug them. But at the same time, it's like, well, again, that's another subject, because that's another part of you getting your swag back. You're no longer catering to and teetering on, you don't want to piss your drug dealer off, because then he'll really maybe not show up or whatever. You're not catering to these people. You're now, it's like, you're now like, look, I don't sit around and wait for anybody for that long. If I'm not important enough for you to show up, at least within a reasonable amount of time that we agreed upon, then screw it. So now we have plenty of time freed up, because we're not doing anything like that. We have plenty of money freed up, because for one, we're working, and two, we're not spending money on drugs. So I always recommend people, get a little bit of a swagger. Get ballsy. Not cocky, but a little bit ballsy. Be a little outspoken if you want to. Get opinionated about, the current situation with say, the fentanyl crisis and things like that. You are in a position where you can say those things, because you've been on the other side of it. People are dying out here, and you have a voice. And not only that, but you have experience. So we need to use that, that voice. I'm not saying to go get in the gutter and because I know that's what a lot of addicts want to do when they get clean, is they want to get get into counseling or whatever, or they want to go be an interventionist, things like that, and that's great. It's a great idea, but it's not something that you don't want to put yourself at risk, right away. You need to get your clean time. That's what you got to do. But you can still be a shining example of how awesome it is to be free. Cops get in behind you while you're in traffic, no big deal. Run my plate. I just tell people, getting active in the community. AA, NA, that's your thing. Your church, that's your thing. It's whatever. But whatever we decide to do, like the law of attraction teaches us that we can be and have or do whatever we want to do. But we can't, we got to stop wanting it. First thing we do is we decide, I do not want to be in active addiction anymore. Okay. And then the next thing we decide is, what do I want to be? Well, I want to be free. In my case, I want to be a podcaster. So, but then once we've made the decision what we want to do, we need to stop wanting, or chasing a dream. Because to want something implies that you don't have it. And law of attraction shows us that it doesn't really matter what you want or don't want. If you want to be a professional musician, that's great. Once you've made that decision, then that's what you need to do. You need to be a professional, and you need to be a musician. And the only way you can do that is to assume the role and to be it. Like I said, I decided I want to be a podcaster. That's what I am. And yeah, it feels a little bit funny saying it sometimes because I'm not exactly, I'm new to it, but that's what I've decided I'm going to do. I've always written a lot, and I always recommend people write a lot because, you get little flashes of brilliance. I mean, I used to just write, keep a journal. Like when I was in rehab, and I burnt notebooks up. And I would always, I would write down what I had for breakfast. I might break down what my workout, routine was that day. A lot of really boring stuff. But then I would also write down my feelings about, things that had been going on in my life, or things I plan on doing when I get out of rehab, just whatever. Books I was reading. I read a lot of books, just anything. But the nice thing about when you're doing that, when you're kind of just journaling, you're just kind of writing, you get little flashes of brilliance, like I'm not even a poet, but I wrote a few poems. As a matter of fact, I've got those notebooks. I'm gonna find them, and I'm gonna, in a future episode, I'm gonna read some of that stuff because there is some stuff in there that I was like, wow, I wrote that. Where did that come from? All I know is it came from my pen to my paper, and because of that, I get to take credit for it. But outside of that, I'm not entirely sure where this little blast of inspiration came from. But whatever, I'll take it because it was pretty good. Few and far between, but it happens. Whatever you want to be, just be it. Get a new attitude. Like I said, the law of attraction teaches us that if we want something, it implies lack. Whatever you're focusing on is what you're going to get. So decide what it is that you want, and then be it. And sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. All philosophies, religions, whatever, have a variation of this. For example, if you're a Christian, Jesus said, call those things as though that are not as though they are. Oh, and as far as how I open this up with, hiding things in your crevices, I would say that, yeah, I got away with some things doing that a couple times, and they do make for some funny stories. Yeah, we're going to tell some funny stories on here. And also, going to do some interviews with fellow addicts and probably some family members of addicts, people who are in the business of rehabilitating addicts. There's a lot of great people out there that are doing a lot of great work. So anyway, my name is Matt Stevens. I love you all. Thank you.